Thank you. Hello. My name is Martin Omander. I'm originally from Sweden, so I grew up there, went to university there, actually got my first job there, and then moved to Silicon Valley 13 years ago, and I've been working at a bunch of startups over there, and I've been at Google the last 6 years. Usually when the startups I worked at before, I founded one myself, I worked at a couple of others. Usually when I come into a startup, they last about 1 year and then they crash and burn. But Google has been around for 6 years since I joined them. I haven't managed to crash that one yet. Failure is an important part of startups. I work with startup outreach in Silicon Valley now, and I'm actually going around trying to figure out how Google can work with startups better outside Silicon Valley as well. And I'm going to show you a couple of things here. I'll talk about, I see a lot of startups every day coming through and coming and visiting Google, and I'll talk about 3 main lessons that I have learned from my work in startups over there and from all the startups I see every day coming through. Then we'll talk, let's see, and then I will talk about some new Google developer products that I think are really relevant to startups because they allow startups to improve your own products, and they also allow you to put your applications in front of millions of users. Different companies work different ways. At Google, we realized that Google has 27,000 employees, I think it is now, or maybe it's more by now. 27,000 employees, that's a lot of smart people in one place, but that is nothing compared to the millions of smart people outside Google. So Google and many other smart companies have figured out that the way to grow and to be innovative and so on is to leverage and use and get help and to help people outside the company as well. And I will show you one product where Google has actually done just that, where Google has worked a little bit like a startup to help other startups and to help Google and to start building an ecosystem. So it's a product that you can use for your startups. It's also, I think, a nice sort of case study in how to start building an ecosystem. So first off, what have I seen in the startups I've helped found and the failures I have seen and been a part of and the successes? I see a couple of things that keep coming back that I've been thinking about this. It sort of boils down to 3 different lessons. And the first lesson is this. Wayne Gretzky, famous Canadian hockey player, he says, or rather his dad told him to not go where the puck is right now, but where the puck is going. So some examples of this is 20 years ago, there was a big shift of software from DOS, this old clunky system, character-based system, to Windows, which was Windows and you can drag and drop and so on. And back there were many, many software companies out there who had DOS software. They had spreadsheets, word processors, and so on that worked in DOS just fine. They saw Windows come along. Microsoft released Windows, said that this was going to be the new way software is written. So all these existing software companies, WordStar and Lotus and all of those guys, they fell into one of 2 camps. Some of them said, we tried out Windows and it was slow, it was buggy, it broke it crashed all the time, which was true. Windows 1.0 was very, very bad software. But you could see that that was where software was going. The other half of companies out there said, okay, Windows 1.0 may not be what people will be using for forever, but we can clearly see that this is where computing is going. So the companies who said Windows is no good, they stuck with DOS. The next version of their software came out for DOS, not for Windows. The other half of companies, they said they developed the next version for Windows. It didn't work very well in the first version, but then Windows 1.1 came, and then Windows 3.0, which was actually the first usable Windows version, I think. And then all of a sudden, these companies that had seen where the puck was going, now they had the advantage, because now nobody wanted a word processor that was a character-based black screen, green text on a black screen. People wanted the windows and be dragged around and have multiple windows. These companies, and the companies who kept doing the DOS thing, most of them went out of business. When you're building a startup, you have to figure that you're not just building your startup to be successful next week, but you have to go with the flow of history. Another example is Shutterfly. They are a photo service. You can upload your digital photos. They were founded in 1999 when some people working at Silicon Graphics saw that now all of a sudden we have all these people running around with digital cameras. What does that really mean? Well, and at that point it was 1 out of 20 people had a digital camera. So it wasn't really worth it to build a online photo sharing and storage and printing service. Because 1 out of 20 people, that's a very small market. But they saw that in a couple of years, in a year or in 2 years, most people will have digital cameras. So aim for where the puck is going. And they became a very successful photo sharing company and worth $1 billion today and so on. So some examples here of where I think Google is looking ahead, and we'll see if it works out or not. Nobody knows the future. But one such thing is internet connections are becoming better and more stable all the time. So then if you sit down and think, and this is something for your products as well, sit down and think, what if internet connections become 10 times faster or 100 times faster and 10 times more reliable? And there's internet everywhere, as opposed to just hotspots and so on. And Google's bet there is that 3 years ago, Google made the announcement that we'll make Chromebooks. Anybody here heard about Chromebooks? Not a couple only? Okay, I'll explain it, thank you. So Chromebooks is basically a laptop like this, except it's much simpler. It just has a very fast graphics processor, no hard drive, and you can't upgrade the operating system on it. It's updated automatically. You can't store local files because everything is in the cloud, and use Google Docs. So that is, we don't know if that will pay off yet. We don't know that yet, but if it turns out that internet will become much faster and much more reliable, Google will be in a great place, much better place than other companies who kept saying, oh, internet is sometimes flaky, sometimes slow, let's keep doing what we are doing in local files and things like that. So for you to think of, I think it's important, there are a couple of things we know will be everywhere, and there are a couple of things you need that are not so clear yet. But for example, mobile everywhere, right? Most people, increasingly people are using the mobile phones to access the web rather than a computer. What does that mean for each of your startups? And don't just think about what happens if half the people use a mobile phone. No, what happens if 95% of people use a mobile phone to access your services? Because that will happen, it's only a matter of time. We have social everywhere, of course. That's here already. So, but anyway, think about the internet of people rather than of machines. And then one really interesting aspect I like to think about is the Internet of Things. Today, my laptop is on the internet, my phone is on the internet, but not much more. What happens when my fridge and my car and my TV and when really every little thing in my house and outside my house is on the internet? What does that mean? And don't just think about what happens if, well, the TV is online, or half of the people have a TV that's online. No, think big. What happens with every TV is online? What happens when every fridge is online? And what does that mean for your business? Play where the puck is going. The next thing I see, this is a mistake I see lots of startups doing, and hopefully you in your projects are not doing this, but I'll mention it. So a lot of people think that they have a great idea, and they think that they should focus and work on their idea and not talk to others, and they're afraid that somebody will steal the idea. Well, if you have a great idea, and it's really groundbreaking idea, you will have to work very hard to convince others that it is a good idea, and you don't need to worry about people stealing it. You will have to worry about convincing people it's a good idea, rather. And also, once you launch your startup, then your idea will be out there for everybody to see anyway. So you will, if you're successful, you will get competitors anyway. And you might as well tell people about your idea now so you can get feedback. And I have a very concrete example of this. There is a company, a small startup in the US called Storm Pulse. They only have 2 employees. It's a small business that basically, this guy wrote a piece of software that goes out and scrapes different websites and pulls down weather data from them so that he can put together various pieces of weather data from various websites so he can predict and show where tropical storms are going in the Caribbean and in the southeast of the US. FedEx and companies like that, transportation companies, oil companies, they really need to know this information, and it's hard for them, it's time-consuming for them to go to many different websites and gather this weather data. His Storm Pulse, he gathers it all in one place for them. So he built this software and lived off of bread and water, and couldn't make almost his mortgage and so on, because he was not, he put all his money into this idea. He had less than 100 visitors a day on the website. He still really believed this idea, but he didn't manage to sell it. Then he went to a seminar where Chris Anderson talked. He's the guy who wrote the book Free, the book is called Free, and it's about how all services should be free, and then basically freemium model, right? Give away what you have, and then if people really like it, that way you get many people in. If people really like it, then you can charge for a premium service on top of that. So they went to a seminar where he talked, and then they realized the problem is to go to the Storm Pulse website, you must pay. So of course we don't get a lot of visitors. Let's make a little widget that you can just write one line of JavaScript, and anybody can take that and put the Storm Pulse widget that says, that just says if a tropical storm is coming or not, and you can click on it and you end up on their website. So they gave away a big part of their product. Is a storm coming or not? Anybody could put it on their website, and they went from less than 100 visitors a day to 4 million unique visitors in the next 12 months. Again, the guys at Storm Pulse, they were very smart, but they didn't think of this. Somebody else thought of it. And same thing with each and every one of your ideas. You have great ideas, but the more you talk to other people, the more you'll get their feedback, and the more you will learn about what this thing is that you're really building. And don't worry about people stealing it. They'll start stealing it when you launch anyway. Also, you should do so Jeff Jarvis is an internet guru who talks about publishing in the news industry. He says, do what you do best and link to the rest. So don't try to do everything in-house either. And with this Google product I'll show in a minute, I think that shows how startups can leverage somewhat what Google is doing and sticking to what they do best. Okay, the third thing I see is that people get discouraged too easily. So this is a famous quote, and you've probably heard about Rovio, how Angry Birds was not the first game they made, not the second, not the 10th. It was the 52nd game they made. And they worked for 8 years and before they finally got everything together to make Angry Birds. Flickr is an online photo service. They sold their service to Yahoo some years ago for $35 million. They started out as an online game. And I thought, wouldn't it be nice if in this game you can upload pictures of yourself into the game? So they wrote a piece of software that could take photo uploads and display photos and let you comment on photos. And all of a sudden they realized that people didn't care about the game. People talked about the photos. So they threw away the game and they kept doing the photos and became really good at that. The startup I founded, we were doing real estate. So you could, if you had an apartment or house you wanted to rent out, you can upload it to our website and then we'd list it. And then others could come in and say, I want to rent this apartment from you, and we facilitated the contact there. And it didn't work very well. Again, it took a number of iterations for us to understand that the people who are willing to pay money to get a rental contract, it's companies. So what we ended up doing is a sort of relocation service. We had all these apartments in our database, and then a company like Ericsson would come and say, look, I have 3 people from India who are coming to Stockholm, and they need 6 months apartments, 1 apartment each. And we could say, sure, give us some money and we'll give you the rental contracts. That took a number of iterations for us to get to. The first idea is seldom what will work. You have to iterate on it. Google. Anybody knows what Google's first business was back in 1998?
It was a search engine.
Yeah, search engine. How are they planning to make money? Have you heard? You're on. Yeah, search engine. Yeah, to sell. Yeah, or to sell. Actually, the first idea was to similar to what you're saying. The first idea was if you have a website and you want search within that website, then you can buy a Google search engine for your own website. So, and then besides that, that is the product. That's what will pay the bills. Besides that, there will be this public search engine that searches all of the internet. Then it turns out that nobody wanted to buy that product, and the public search engine that searches all the internet was a useful piece. And then Google didn't know how to make money because nobody bought that product and everybody used the free product. But then AdWords came along, and now that is a multi-billion-dollar business and is what's paying the bills today. So again, the first iteration seldom works. Second seldom works. Maybe the 10th works. So keep doing it.
But isn't it like a product excellence? You start, use like Google again. It was pretty close to what actually people need. It's just a matter of tuning the search, small modification.
Yeah.
So you need to start to get a track, and then you position.
And then you position it. Yeah. I guess you could argue that Flickr, they started out as a great online game that nobody cared about, and then they saw that people cared about the photos. I guess they were good at doing photos, better than they realized. So let's see. Okay, so what does Google do with startups? If there's only one thing you remember from what we've been talking about here today, it's Campus London. If you are based in Europe or Africa or Asia, this is a great resource. So this is a co-working space Google has in London. There's an incubator there. There are events there. You can go there to the website and book a desk or rent a desk or just come in and visit. And by going there or by going to other co-working spaces, you can get some of these 3 things we talked about. You can get the iteration, you can get feedback from others, you can see where the technology is going, much better than if you just sit in your own lab and build your own thing. So there are plenty of co-working spaces out there. We at Google think this one is pretty cool because we built this together with a local tech hub. And it just launched, so very exciting time now. If you can at all make your way to London, then I really advise you to go there and stick around for a couple of days, couple of events, and just see what's going on and see what's and get feedback on your ideas and go to events. The other thing Google is doing with startups is field trips. So this is a program we have where if you're ever in Silicon Valley, we invite you to come to the Google campus and we'll talk to you about Google developer technologies. We're trying to figure out how to do this outside Silicon Valley. It's very easy to do that in Silicon Valley because I can get engineers who are working on all the right products and come and talk to visitors. We still don't have a good way of doing it outside Silicon Valley. So I am actually working on right now on expanding that program. And if you have ideas, I'd love to hear from you. Please come up here and talk to me. And maybe we can figure something out together. Oh, right. So another thing, I just want to show some products that people don't think about. People think about Google, the Google search engine, but there are lots of free business tools that I think any startup should use. So first of all, there are lots of good free tools for optimizing your website. Google Analytics. Who here has heard about or used Google Analytics? Oh, good, good. So there you can see where people come from, which other websites they come from, which countries they come from, how long they stay on your website, which pages work well on your website, which don't. Webmaster Tools. Anybody here heard of Webmaster Tools? Oh, good, good. So basically, this is how you can tell Google, the Google search engine, how to search your website. And you can see when Google last checked your website. You can fix things that Google think make for not very good search experience. Website Optimizer. Anybody heard about that? Am I the only one? I'm the only one? Okay. So Website Optimizer, once you build a website, you have some ideas, or the designer you work with, or you have some ideas about what the website will look like. Again, it's seldom the right idea. You think about yourself as a user. Many users aren't like you. So with Website Optimizer, you can say, I'll put up 2 pages, 2 versions of my sign-up page. And then I'll send half the Website Optimizer will let you send half of the users to version A, half of the users to version B, and then you just see where do I get the best sign-up rate? Which one works best? The tool will tell you, and the tool will eventually discard the one that doesn't work well. The Obama campaign in 2008 used this one to great effect. They had a bunch of photos of Obama and Biden, the vice presidential candidate, or Obama with wife, or Obama with wife and kids, or Obama with kids only, or still photo of Obama, or video of Obama talking, or video of people clapping at an event when Obama spoke. They didn't know, and they didn't agree on which of these pictures is best. So they just threw all 8 of them into Website Optimizer. And the picture that they thought was the worst turned out to be the best one. And they got 20% more signups because of that. You can't always figure these things out. Sometimes you just have to try it and see what works. Then communication, Google Apps like Google Docs, Google Spreadsheets. Who has used that? I have a couple. OK, great, great. So online collaboration, you know about that. Stick it online, have it online. Google Plus Hangouts as well is something I wanted to mention because this is something we use internally. We have been using it for quite a while, and now it's public, so anybody can use it. Where we have these Hangouts where you can say, if you have a startup, you can say that at so-and-so a time, any customer or can come and talk to us in person over this video link. Hangout link. And you can talk to developers or anybody who signs on. So it's a great community building tool. And once your startups grow and you have lots of customers or partners, Hangouts is a great way of setting up video conferences where anybody can be invited and come and talk to you. Again, you want those ideas from people other than yourselves. All right, so this was a lot of talk about theory, about startups. I will now show a product that is fairly new. I'm showing it for two reasons, I guess. One is that it's a good example of a product that I think we at Google have used these learnings here to build a better product. And second, I'm showing it to you because it is a product that your startups might be able to use, and that might help you. Let's see here. This is, the project is called Google Drive. Does that ring a bell? How many have heard of Google Drive? Only me? Oh, couple more. Okay, got it. So Google Drive, this is a list where you used to have your Google, you can all have your Google Docs here. What's new now is that you can store anything in here, and you can have your application access, read and write these. So we've done many versions of this before, and they worked more or less well, and we learned as we went along. And now we have something that is probably the 5th iteration of this that we think is pretty compelling, and that you can build an ecosystem of. So in the beginning, let's start talking about Wayne Gretzky and going where the puck is going, and not where the puck is right now. In the beginning, personal computing was very easy. You had a bunch of applications on your personal computer. You had a bunch of files on your personal computer, Word documents and photos and what have you. The applications could create, update, delete files. Things were very easy. And if you understood this, you were good to work on a PC in the 1980s or 1990s. This is a great model, easy to understand, until your hard drive crashes. And then your files are gone and you have to start all over again. Now you can take backups and things like that, but that's messy, hard, and you don't always get, if you take a backup yesterday when my hard drive crashes today, then I lost all the work since yesterday. Also, collaboration doesn't really work very well on this model, because here we have 3 people on 3 different computers who are talking to each other, and they're sending different versions of this file around. And of course, very soon that leads to version hell. Nobody knows what version is based on what other version. Typically, a good danger sign of this happening is when you start seeing people emailing a file around and the word final is in the file name. Then you know you're in trouble, because then you know that's not going to be the final one. People are going to update that, and you'll get this tree of versions and what version is based on which other version.
Or numbers edit.
Pardon?
Numbers edit.
Oh, numbers. Oh, gosh, even worse. Yes, yes. So good. Those are danger signs that you need to say, guys, let's kill this email thread. Let's start over. So in the 1990s, or actually late 80s, they come up with an idea that made this a little better. This is called the corporate file server. So fairly old technology by now. Today, we would call these like Microsoft SkyDrive or Google Drive or Dropbox or Box or one of these. So basically, the files are up in the cloud. The applications are still on the computer, but because we haven't figured out how to do that yet, but the files are up there, so we can all work from the same version of a file. Of course, typically, there will be problems if 2 people edit one file at the same time. There will also be problems when I pull out my phone and I don't have PowerPoint on this phone and I want to access the file, the PowerPoint file in the cloud. So now we're going to have a little quiz. This is a flower vase that whoever can answer this question will get as a prize. It's very, let me just show this a little bit. It folds very flat. You can fill it with water, and then it actually stands like this. And it says Google on it. Very nice. So this was a slight improvement. Who can tell me what the next logical step is after this? I think you were. Oh, very good, very good. Big round of applause. I'm sorry, your name?
My name is Vadim.
Vadim?
Vadim.
Vadim. Vadim. Got it. Very good. There you get to store it in. An instruction manual as well. Very important. Yes. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yes, Vadim got it. The next step is to move the app up into the cloud. So this is what Google Drive is about. The app is up there, the files are up there, and now all of a sudden I can actually pull up this presentation on my phone because it's all web-based, and on my tablet and so on, and I can share it with Vadim or anybody else if you want to work on it. And these apps are smart, so they make sure that you don't you don't overwrite each other's changes. And so you get access everywhere, store the files in a safe place, and you bring the files to life. So I'll just go through that real quick. You can access it from all devices. You can store them in a safe place. Actually, this is an interesting piece of trivia here. If your hard drive on your local computer crashes, there's a 29% chance that it will crash again in the next 8 months. So if you see a crash, be afraid, and just make sure you don't have stuff locally. It should be all up in the cloud. Also, this brings files to life because now if two people edit the same file, rather than blocking each other or overwriting each other's changes, with Google Drive, you can actually see each other's changes as they happen. And not just for Google Docs or Google Spreadsheets and presentations. That has worked for a while. But now the opportunity for you as startups, you get nice search, of course, because we're Google. The opportunity for startups is that if you build a file, if you build an application that produces a certain kind of file, let's say a mind mapping tool, then if you share that file with somebody else who doesn't have that app, they will be prompted to install that app, install in their account, to activate that app in their account. Also, if you're, let's see, there was, I heard just a little bit about your ideas. What was it? Was there fashion? What were you guys in the back there? What was your business idea again? Which one? Was it this group? Yeah. What were you doing? No? Oh. Was it? No? What? Maybe it was this group. What were your guys' idea?
A social website for sharing food together.
For sharing food together? Okay, got it. So this was the one I was thinking of. Sorry.
This one.
Oh, that was fashion. Okay. Well, actually, so this is sharing fashion. Okay. So I think actually this would work well for either one. So you could, if there are recipes or fashion photos or things like that, you could, or even a fashion catalog, recipes, online cookbook, you could store that, let people store it in their account. So if there's some sort of personalized content that's created, instead of letting users download it and get a PDF and they lose the PDF because it's on one machine, you could upload it into that user's Google Drive. And then when they log into Google, they see that file. So it's like a hard drive in the cloud that you can all write to for personalized content. You can write it into, for example, my personal drive space. So, okay, here are the apps. okay, this is great. So you get 5 gigabytes for free, and then you can buy more space. So I'll just show real quick here how it actually works. You can have your app. These are the apps I use regularly. Here's a game. Here's a fax application I can use to fax people. Here's a mind mapping. I love mind mapping, by the way. It's much easier to make mind maps than to write sequential text, I find. So this is just a test account I have with these guys. But this is, you see here that I'm at mindmeister.com. So I'm on MindMeister's website. This could be your application that you build that let you do certain things online. So for example, here I can say this is about planning my vacation, and I can say that pick a destination, I should consider currency as well maybe, and then this is now automatically saved into Google Drive. So it sits right over there. Oh, there, you saw it jumped up because it was last modified more recently. Planvacation.mind. And then in here, I can also share it with others, much like I share a Google Doc, except this is not a Google Doc. This is somebody outside Google who's written this. This is your application. You could sit here. Oh my gosh. Restart required. Let's not do that. This is why you should use a Chromebook, by the way. All the updates happen in the background. You don't even notice them. Yeah. So then, if I invite others to view this document, then what they get, all of a sudden, they will see this planvacation.mind show up here in their list. And now, when they go to click to open it, it will say, oh, sorry, we can't show a preview of this. But we do know that .mind files, they open great with MindMeister. So this is where you can get the viral growth, right? Now, if you put apps, files out there, you can put this in front of people. And then the user who got this file shared to them would go into MindMeister, and boom, now all of a sudden they have MindMeister in their suite of apps that they have been enabled to use. So a great way of putting your app in front of people. Also a great way of, if you have an online application that deals with files or data that's persistent in any way, don't bother writing, do what you do best, link to the rest. Don't bother writing a lot of code and figuring out how to store data on your side. Let Google do it. We're great at storing files. We take backups and all that, so you don't have to. What you are good at is building a good, compelling web application. By the same token, we're back to Google here, you can actually get your stuff into, your application into this UI. Let's just say I have a vacation picture. I actually didn't go to Paris for my vacation. This is the Wikipedia page about the Eiffel Tower. But this file is called vacation.jpg. There's nothing here that says that it's anything to do with the Eiffel Tower. It's uploaded. Vacation has been uploaded. Very good. There it is. You see the file there. Now, because Google is smart about pictures and can understand things, you can do like this. So I want to search for the Eiffel Tower, and boom, Google understood that that picture is the Eiffel Tower. There was no tag on it. There was no description on it. But again, this is something that's very hard to build, but it's something that you can use if you hook into Google Drive, and then you can focus on other things in your app. You can also get, I know some people upload all the receipts here. This might actually be useful for a bunch of you. So upload receipts into here, and then you get automatic OCR of the receipts. So you can do a search on any text that's in the receipt, or any sign you've seen and taken a picture of with your phone, and you will get a hit here. Also, finally, you can get your app in here. These are my installed apps here. So I've installed a Pixlr Express, which is online photo editing. People were saying when Chromebooks were launching, or when Chromebooks were announced a couple of years ago, people were saying that, oh, but how do I edit photos? I mean, I must have a local photo editing app for that. Turns out you don't. See where the puck is going. Here, now online photo editing is done much easier on the web. So here I can, let's see. I want to make this a little arty. I might put like that thing on it. Apply. Maybe like a fake chemical burn on it. Let's make it, ooh, that was a little too much. Let's pull that down a little. There, now it just looks nicely faded and arty. And then I can, maybe I'll save this as a copy. So vacation version 1. Oh, that was the anti-pattern, wasn't it? Ah! Ignore what I just did. I'll do this instead. Save as a copy. Vacation, what should we call it? Arty. That's a better description. No version numbers in file names ever. And if I go back here, we now see V1. Let me quickly erase that before. There we go. Pretend you never saw that. And here, now I have my RT picture here, now in my Google Drive. So everything is up online. I could access it just as easily from this or my tablet, or walk over and borrow any of your computers and log in and see my own file again. Good way of delivering content or letting users edit their content online from any device. And good way of spreading your applications virally. And a good way of seeing where things are going, online all the time. That is what Google is betting on. Well, let's hope that's the way it goes. And you should think about where are we going, where is society going for your startups? Other trends are, for example, I could see both for cooking and fashion, and maybe for others, it makes a big difference. Like the number of single-person households is increasing. Number of households that's only one person in them. What does that mean for cooking, for food? What does that mean for fashion? How is that different from family units? Yeah.
Some services, I will not name it here, they allow to save the version automatically. You don't need to rename it. I don't know if Google allows that. Even for binary files, for photos, you have one more column that shows you how many edits were done, and by default, the latest edit is the current one. So you don't need actually to rename it.
Oh, right. So versioning happens here too.
Yes.
It happens. It happens here too. I should have shown that. That would have been better. Yeah. So the last something like 10 or 20 versions are saved, and then if you do more edits than that, we'll start deleting old versions. But if there's, exactly. And so there's always, by 10 or 20 last versions are always up there. Then if there's a special version you like, you can pin it. You can say, save this version, don't garbage collect this version. And then you'll have the 10, 20 latest plus the ones you have said, save these versions.
Is it able to track the originator of a document, for example, by using a person's IP address?
No, the only way it looks at is, it will say Martin edited it. So the user who edited.
How does it know your name?
Because I'm logged in and the document has been shared with me. So it doesn't keep track of IP address, but it keeps track of username. So I'd be happy to talk through lots of more of this in technical detail if you want to in the break or later, or you can come up and get my email address and we can continue talking about this or any other topics. But that is what I had. Any questions on any of this? Stunned, overwhelmed by the versions, yeah. Versions are tricky. Versions are very hard to do right.
I have one.
Oh, yes.
Just what about the issues of trust? I mean, can I necessarily trust this as something I put up on the cloud? I mean, because it, in some, I think there can be some really sensitive areas where I'm not willing to actually use the cloud, even the one by Google.
Yep, yep. Yeah, that's right. So then don't put it there. I should also note that if I start a company and have my own local corporate file server, how many security experts do I have working at my company? Probably not very many. Google has something like the top, what is it, several hundred security experts in the world working to secure our cloud. And if files leaked here, it would be very, very bad press for Google. So we're making sure that there aren't leaks, and I don't know of any leaks ever happening. There is one company that's built a successful business in the US purely on Google products, Google App Engine and Drive and things like that, where companies upload their financial data and like revenue and sales and things like that. And then this application does all the math and does all the formatting and figures out the right financial reports that needs to go to the Securities and Exchanges Commission and needs to go to the shareholders. So that is very sensitive data that this company built it all purely on Google products. And yeah, nothing is leaking there.
More questions? Please.
So not a question, but a quick feedback. I just checked that this website optimizer is no longer available.
It's now inside Google Analytics.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so it's we mash those products together. I like to talk about them separately just because when you use analytics, most of us used it was very recently they were mashed together. So if you just go into analytics, you may not notice that the website optimizer is in there. Yeah.
So how do we get the full website to get everything?
Pardon? How do
we get everything? What websites want to get everything?
Oh, right. I think search for, are you talking about the analytics or, yeah? Go to Google Analytics, search for analytics, Google Analytics, or analytics.google.com. And there, it's all there. Again, it's a free product. So it's, we like free and we like ecosystems. And one good way of starting ecosystems and working with you guys is to offer free stuff. And then if you use it, same thing with Google App Engine. This is a platform you can build your apps on top of. You can use it quite a bit for free. And then if your company gets really serious and you get, tens of thousands of hits a day, then we'll start asking you to pay us. But it's good to be able to start for free. Same thing with Google Drive, free up to 5 gigabytes. Yeah.
This cloud concept sounds a little bit like going back to the mainframe computers.
Ah, yes, yes.
The concept is centralized, yeah?
Yes.
So we went from mainframe to PCs, and now we're going back to...
Now we're going back to mainframe.
Mainframe is in the sky. That's the only difference.
Yeah.
But tell me this, do you foresee, or can you give any hints about, is there any opportunities worldwide to offer the hardware to support companies who want to put their data in the cloud? And which countries that is happening in at the moment?
Hardware, like a sort of private cloud or yes, something like that? Yeah.
Subscription for companies who want a secure cloud, for example, in a secure environment with lots of security protocols.
Yep, yep. Interesting. So first off, I personally, and this is not Google talking, this is Martin talking, I hear a lot of companies say private cloud, and you rent a machine in our data center, and we make sure it's not the cloud, not the public cloud, but it's our version of the cloud. And again, look where the puck is going. We've gone in 2000, I worked at a company where we tried to basically build this, but we failed because in 2000 people said, store my files on your computer? What, are you crazy? And now people are saying, store my files, have my own computers that I have to do maintenance on? Are you crazy? I want to store them in the cloud. So that trend will only continue. And I think that these private clouds will go away because the private cloud is just a crutch. It's a way for people who aren't completely comfortable with going to the cloud, but they can have this sort of slightly going to the cloud.
Who is providing the hardware for these clouds that exist at the moment? Like, how does Google make revenue from this, you know?
How does Google make revenue?
It's free storage. Where's the revenue basis?
5 gigabytes.
5 gigabytes free, yeah.
And say if I want more than 5, what do I do?
Then you pay us. Then you pay, yeah, that's right. And then also, we build our own hardware, so which makes it very cheap because it's very, very optimized. If you buy your own machine, well, you must have somebody to look after it and apply antivirus updates and what have you on it. But also just the hardware is more expensive for you because you don't build it custom.
I can understand the concept for people. The service should be free to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But to large corporations who want that security built in, I think there's scope to offer private solutions for them.
Could be, yeah. There could also be, and this is speculation, there could also be an opportunity to build something on top of this, to do some layer of signatures or trust or something on top of this, but still use Google or somebody else's cloud.
Or different levels of clouds where you through passwords you get different levels of access.
Possibly, yeah. Yeah.
So let's take another question. What about legal data privacy issues?
Legal data privacy issues. So unfortunately, I will give a very boring answer. And the boring approved answer is I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not allowed to talk about it.
Okay, let's say I store data on the... Okay, I personally use the Gmail.
Use Gmail, yeah.
That's the example. But the only thing that's worrying me is annoying me that actually, okay, that I'm not confident enough in the legal issues about Gmail.
Yep.
To say, for example, okay, what's going to happen to my data in 5 years, 6 years?
What will happen to your data in 5 years? Do we keep it forever, or do we, yeah. Yep. Yeah.
It's quite a common issue about.
Yeah, exactly. That's a tricky issue, and I don't know enough to talk about it. And even if I knew enough, I probably wouldn't be allowed to. The lawyers wouldn't let me talk about it.
So our time is coming up, but I have a final question as well.
Yeah.
Because you promised to talk more about this Chrome book, for example.
Yeah.
So today, your Google searches, look at today, it's almost 2 billion searches, and they actually not even started yet, basically. So your main revenue comes from advertisements.
Yeah.
You're developing a Google Glass project for augmented sort of advertisement layer. You're fighting quite a lot in terms of mobile advertisement platform development because this is Google's future Nexus tablets. All this kind of stuff. So what will be the future model in terms of revenue, in terms of advertisement for Google? What is the key? What's the killer application? Is it Google Glass? Do you have Google Glass?
No, I don't, unfortunately. Yeah.
Okay. Is it Google Glass? Is it your Nexus tablet? Is it Chromebook? What it is? Your next puck?
Yep. I think just looking at, so the ads pay most of the bills today, like you say. I think it is sales to enterprises. I mean, companies, small and large. Already today, sales to enterprise with selling Google Docs. Google Docs is free for all of you guys, but if you become a bigger company, you want more accounts, you want more special features, email auditing, things like that, then you pay. And that is already a big enough business that it shows up if you draw a graph. And that one is growing quite fast. So I think it is enterprise. And then who knows what's going to happen with mobile.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's give a big applause to Martin.
Yeah.
Martin. Some comments for you as well.
Oh,
This
look
is
at
a
that.
Stoner product.